David Garrett.
Mr Speaker, I would rise...
You can go next.
Firstly, to say that ACT supports this bill. But, Mr Speaker, as those members in the House will know, I always enjoy being able to agree with members on the other side. And I'd like to commend the last speaker's speech, Lynn Pillay, quite genuinely and sincerely, because a great deal of what Lynn Pillay said was excellent stuff. And I would put on record that we too in the ACT Party have a commitment to the right to people being legally receptive. I see perhaps a touch of incredulity in your face there, Mr Speaker, that I should be agreeing with Lynn Pillay, but not so, sir, not so. And she talked about the valuable work of community law centres, and I suspect, like many other lawyers in the House, have actually worked at community law centres pro bono. I've never been keen on using my skills to help criminals, so one of the things I did was work in a community law centre, and they do indeed provide a very valuable service for those at the bottom of the heap, frequently people who've got a number of different problems other than the inability to pay. They often just need someone to listen to them. I remember a man here some years back who wanted to sue Bill Birch for $25 million for some perceived slights, and of course that was totally unrealistic, but he felt he was listened to and treated with dignity, and so indeed they do serve a very valuable role. It would be wrong to say that all or even most legal aid lawyers are the bottom of the barrel. As Simon Bridges said, criminal law is a skilled branch of the profession. But it would be equally wrong and naive to say that they're all top-notch either, Mr Speaker. If you go to any district court in the country, less so in the provinces I have to say, but any metropolitan district court, and you will see lawyers whose suits need a clean, whose hems are clipped up by staples, who haven't seen, as Simon Bridges said, the inside of a refresher course for a very long time, who are not up to date with the changes in the law, and that's not right. It's not right for the defendant primarily. It's also not right for the taxpayer. Mr Speaker, here sadly is where I'm going to have to diverge, I think, from agreement with Ms Pillay, because unlike the Labor Party on the other side, I don't agree, and we don't agree, that anyone is entitled to endless legal aid. Mr Speaker, we live in a society where resources are rationed to some extent. Older people frequently, in fact my mother died a wee while ago, probably could have been saved with a pacemaker, but she was 90, and the hospital authorities gently told her that she was not a candidate for that surgery, obviously because of her age, even if she was strong enough to have survived it. So we reluctantly accept some rationing in the health sector, as they say these days. Everything's a sector, isn't it? But why should we not accept that there should be some rationing in legal aid? Ms Pillay touched on civil legal aid, and as a practising lawyer, it used to distress me very greatly that you often met people who had very real, genuine claims, civil claims, but they were unfortunately middle class, not poor enough to get legal aid, the very small amount of civil legal aid available, and not wealthy enough to be able to pursue the case themselves, even if, as we often did, at much discounted fees. So a whole heap of people go with the phrase these days is an unmet need. I don't know why we had to invent all these phrases, but that's it, an unmet need, because there simply isn't the money. So of that pool of, I think it's 160 million or something, Mr Speaker, on legal aid every year, the vast majority of it goes to criminal legal aid. And I've just addressed the Sensible Sentencing Trust's annual Victims Conference, and looking around that hall, recognising many of the faces and knowing their stories, many of those people have been victimised by criminals who've appeared 100 times in the court. 100 times the taxpayers picked up the tab for their defence. Now, is that sensible? We say to old people, I'm sorry, Mrs. Garrett, you could be saved potentially by a pacemaker, but you're 90, and that money is better spent. Obviously, they didn't say that to my mother, but effectively that's what they were saying. That money can be better spent at the neonatal unit. Now, Mr. Speaker, in the ACT Party, we say everyone's entitled to a defence, yes, once, perhaps even twice, perhaps even 3 times. But yes, indeed, Ms. Pillay, I'd like you to tell me, by interjection if you wish,
Order.
if you, Mr. Speaker, I'd like the other side to tell me by interjection if they wish, and put it on the record, do they really believe that someone like William Bell is entitled to taxpayer-funded defences 100 times? And there's, Mr. Robertson, you don't have to shake your head. I don't need to use his name. I could use many that you don't know. Does the Labor Party believe that a career criminal should be entitled to endless largesse from the taxpayer? Well, we don't, Mr. Speaker, in our party. We don't. To paraphrase Lady Bracknell, just about anyone can have the misfortune of being wrongly accused once. Just about anyone. By circumstance or by bad luck or by corruption, perhaps, sadly, very rarely. Twice, maybe. But 54 times? I don't think so. So, Mr. Speaker, it's perfectly reasonable to look at whether people should be entitled to endless legal aid. This is a good bill. It makes good changes. But I think we need to look at the whole system and perhaps, Ms. Pillay said it as a joke, but perhaps say, yes, 3 strikes should be extended to the legal aid system. You are entitled to a full and complete defence by a qualified and competent lawyer of your choice 3 times. But if you're unlucky enough to be wrongly accused 4 times, then perhaps you should be on your own. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.